Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this evening I want to talk to you all a little bit about the new Dragonflight Warlock tier bonuses that were unveiled in the middle of raid testing a couple days ago. So on Friday we had 3 bosses to test in Vault of the Incarnates, 2 the day before. If you're looking for any footage of that, it's all on this channel, by the way. And the tier bonuses for every single class were unveiled in the middle of raid testing, which is a bit odd, but either way, Warlock has some interesting ones. Some that are pretty decent, but sort of generic and maybe boring. Some that are a couple that are pretty subpar. I want to break it all down tonight and talk about what I think, where they're going to be good, where they're going to be bad, my thoughts on them, and basically just everything, well, going from there. A couple things we get too far in the video. For those of you who are interested in the announcement I was talking about for the last few days on stream and on YouTube and everything, it has indeed finally been announced. I guess for those that didn't see it, we have officially joined Liquid, the org. I am incredibly excited to talk about it. Finally, it's been a decent bit in the making here, and yeah, I am pumped. I am very, very, very excited for the opportunity, and yeah, so moving forward, if you're watching anything on stream, that is the case, and yeah, so it should be some pretty awesome opportunities coming for the stream and for YouTube and everything down the line. Number 2, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you for all the support, guys, a million times on Patreon. I really truly do appreciate it. Heads up, the Warlock Dragonflight beta spreadsheet is indeed now available on Patreon for early access if you'd like. The tier 3 Felguard rank or higher does indeed get early access to that. And the third thing, I have indeed started putting out the short, like 2 to 3 minute videos on the Clips channel, covering very, very briefly the Dragonflight talent builds I've been playing in certain settings. They'll change over the course of time with tuning and things, but for those who are looking for a short summary of Destro, Demo, and I would assume Aff by the time this video goes live, talents, those are available for you guys there if you want, link down below. So that being said, let's get into the video, starting off with the tier gear. Alrighty, so jumping into it, starting off with Affliction here. The 2-piece and honestly, both the 2 and the 4-piece are pretty interesting. 2-piece set bonus: when Agony grants you a soul shard, you have a chance to gain Cruel Inspiration. I read this as Cruel Ultimatum the first time for the 2 people in the video that actually get this. Anyways, Cruel Inspiration, increasing your haste by 12% for 6 seconds. Initial thoughts: it's a pretty short duration buff. Wouldn't mind if it's longer, like the Destro one, for example. They might be a little worried about like it being too long, extra shard gen, because more haste does bring more shard gen, even though it's not like incredibly impactful. It's still something. It's fine, I guess. It might be tweaked and tuned a bit duration wise and numerically. So the 4-piece works off the 2-piece, similar to how like Destro's 2-4 does currently in retail with the Purple Infernal, right? The 4-piece Cruel Inspiration also grants 2 charges of Cruel Epiphany, up to 5 charges. Each charge of Cruel Epiphany increases the damage of your next Malefic Rapture or Seed of Corruption by 40%. So there's a chance here. There's always a chance to gain Cruel Inspiration from the 2-piece. So it's not guaranteed whenever Agony gives you a soul shard, right? Number 1, let's clarify that. I read it wrong the first time saying, hey, I got a shard and I get a haste proc. Not true. So the big thing here is, what is the percent on this? Is it like 20% or 2% or 40%? I would assume somewhere around like, I don't know, a 20% chance, something along those lines. But either way, we'll have to see where that goes. The 4-piece, once again, giving you charges of Cruel Epiphany. So the wording on this is a bit cryptic, I guess, if you can put it that way. It's unclear. So it says charges up to 5 max, up to 5 charges, right? Each charge of Cruel Epiphany increases the damage of your next Malefic Rapture or Seed of Corruption by 40%. I don't know why I did this. 40%. So now the thing here, I talked to Max about this briefly on his stream as well. When I read this, I initially thought, oh, okay, this is going to be a stacking damage increase to your next Rapture or Seed. But I don't like, so it goes like 40, 80, 120, 160, 200. However, I don't think that's the case. I think their intention is probably to have like 5 charges, or like, I don't want to use the word stacks, because stacks implies that this is a stacking damage effect, which it could be, right? I think they use the word charges to try and differentiate between the two. It's just not very clear yet. When we have it in game, we can test it out. But I'm assuming that it's up to 5 charges, so 5 individual 40% buffs to either Seed or Rapture. And casting a Rapture consumes 1 of the 5 stacks, or of the X stacks you have out, right? Now, I think that it's hard, like, there are situations where both could be good. Overall, I think that actually having like 5 individual charges, all that 40% for Rapture or Seed, is better. I could see a world where like having a big, like, 5 stack with the 200% buff for Seed could be good in certain spots, even a Rapture too, right? But if you're playing more of like a Dread Touch build of Affliction, or even just like a council-based kind of affliction build, right? Getting a 5 charge like stack, if it is a 200% damage increase, and having to hold that for a little bit if you need to, if you're like, let's say you're like 15 seconds off a rapture window, right? And you're pulling shards for it, and for some reason you get, you know, a 5 stack. Okay, well, you're sitting at a max shard count because you really don't want to dump that huge rapture without having your PS up and your other dot-based effects, whatever, right? Without having your CDs rolling. So, I mean, it can be a little awkward if it's like the big, if it's just one big rapture for like, you know, 200% damage, or one big seed for 200. I think having 5 individual charges at 40% is better. It will reward you for pooling going into a rapture window as well. The other question is how long these last. If it's like a permanent buff, like Random Chaos or whatever the 2-piece on retail is now currently, if it's like a permanent effect like the Destro one is, right? Or if it's like a duration on it, right? Because if you can pool these charges going into every rapture window, which, I mean, to be fair, like, you're not playing Soul Rot in single target builds, you're playing like PS, so your builds your rapture windows probably shift like potentially from like a minute to like 45-ish seconds, depending on things. You'll have a bit less time to pool this effect, but overall, I think it's better suited to have like 5 charges, max 40% for rapture or seed, feeding into those rapture windows, or even feeding into those seed of corruptions in, you know, heavy stack cleave mythic plus, right? So we'll see where this goes. I'm excited about it. Big things, like I said, though, gotta see the duration, or sorry, the proc chance of this. Wouldn't mind seeing the duration become a little longer, and need to see if this is like a permanent effect you can hold for, you know, 45 to a minute, and or just maybe longer, and see if this is like a permanent 40% effect, or if it stacks, if it's like charges or actual stacking damage. So overall, I'd say Affliction's probably like, I think I rated it like B-, due to like just the uncertainties of the durations and stacking damage or whatever. It's fine. I mean, Rapture is our spender for Affliction, whether we like it or not. And, you know, you're either casting Rapture or Seed in basically every setting. If you can sort of abuse like the stacking of 5 charges and pull this for every rapture window, this bonus is actually pretty strong. So we'll see where it goes, but I give Affliction like a B-, TBD, depending on testing and where this actually ends up being tuning wise, and, you know, stack duration count. So when it comes to the Demonology tier bonus, number 2 on the list here, I'll say right now, I think the 2-piece is a lot stronger than the 4-piece, and that's because the 4-piece is just not very good, I don't think. I think it's pretty subpar. You could swap these and they would feel a little better, but it would feel a bit underwhelming. So the 2-piece, Demon Bolt and Fellstorm deal 20% more damage. If you pay attention to how Demo is working on beta right now, Fellstorm is going to be, I mean, your pets and your Felguard especially are a large portion of your damage. You have baseline Demonic Strength here, obviously. You have Vanillion Draining, which is more Felguard damage. You have Felon Steel, which is increasing Fellstorm damage, and Dreadbite. It's important to note that if you've looked at like logs from testing or anything, Demonic Strength is currently bugged. It's not giving you a 400% damage up on Fellstorm. It's legitimately the same damage as a regular Fellstorm. So that'll be a substantial increase when it's fixed, on top of the bonus effect from this affecting it, and this as well. Plus, you have this reducing the cooldown of Fellstorm, and you also have Antoran Armaments increasing Felguard damage by 20%. Now, that is a large portion of this, right? Your Felguard, your pets do a lot of damage. This build just, you know, builds upon that with Wilfrids, not even playing Rain. It's pretty undertuned. More Wilfrids, more Tyrants, more pet extensions, more damage from a Tyrant, more pet damage, right? But on top of that, you also have Demon Bolt doing 20% more damage. Now, there is a version of Demon Bolt Demo that was played in Shadowlands, right? The remnants of that are still around. There's no Decimating Bolt. Nephrolord is gone, obviously, but things are still here, right? We still have Carnivorous or FTS. We have Carnivorous Stalkers here, so this provides the chance to rechomp, to reapply FTS. You have your third dog here from our 2-piece in Sepulcher, right? We even have like Demonic Meteor and things that build more pets, possibly, right? We also have Shadow's Bite, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it does indeed increase Demon Bolt damage. You have Power Siphon still around, which is a 30% damage increase to Demon Bolt. You have Fell Covenant. This is the old Bale Spider's Burning Core legendary. It's the same thing. They just changed the name and changed the icon, right? It is a 60% damage increase to Demon Bolt when it stacks, and you really don't have to even pay attention to it. You cast a Shadow Bolt once every 20 seconds and it refreshes. So if you're playing the Demon Bolt build, this could be really solid. And as scary as this may sound, Sack Souls is a thing, which does indeed gain a bit more value with Wilfrids compared to Reign of Tyranny. Just more frequent Tyrants, more frequent extensions, more pets, more Sack Souls value, and you can sort of see like where this builds over here with like Bolt, Shadow Spite, Power Siphon, Fell Covenant, Sack Souls, and like this build over here with like the Felguard synergy all mixed in here, right? Now, I've seen some builds playing like 1 point Inner Demons. I've seen some coming out of here and going into Hounds of War. I don't have Vile Fiend or Grimoire here. I don't think they're very good with this build. This is like just big Demon Bolt damage. We'll see where it goes. A similar build was sent to me by somebody in Discord. Love to test with it. One thing to mention that might be worth it is pulling a point out of here and putting 1 point in Inner Demons. So Inner Demons gives you that baseline chance. Well, you summon an imp, basically the same number of imps every 12 seconds, right? Whether it's rank 1 or 2. Rank 2 gives you a higher chance to summon a demon randomly, but you'll have those 2 passive imps with you regardless. So it might be worth looking at that. Maybe pulling a point out of here, then putting it like in Soul Strike within Tauren. But the gist of it is that there is a build that can take good advantage of both, you know, the Demon Bolt damage increase and the actual, Fellstorm damage increase, right? Just passively playing effects, right? Now, the 4-piece is interesting. Demon Bolt has a chance to make your next Hand of Gul'dan instant and deal 50% increased damage. So, this is weird. Number one, for Tyrant setup, it's gonna make things awkward. It might not make things like worse. It's just awkward though, because if I'm casting like, if I'm at like 5 shards and I'm going, you know, hand bolt, hand Tyrant, right? And I go hand bolt and it procs, I'm not able to react to that fast, and I'm thinking like, oh, I got a proc, it's instant. I mean, you'll see it, but it's like, it's sort of awkward like rotationally a little bit. You can make it work, but the bigger thing though is that Hand of Gul'dan, these are logs from our Karag Grim Totem kill from testing, right? It doesn't do much damage, man. It's like 5% of my damage. So if you buff its damage, even if every single hand was instant cast from every bolt you cast, every single hand being instant cast, which means a 50% damage increase in every hand, it goes from being like 5% to like 7%. Like, but it's not going to be. It's going to be a much lower chance than that. So it goes from being like 5 to like maybe 6%. Even that's pretty high. 5 to 5.5. Yes, it is instant cast, which means you can get like some other spells in every once in a while, but Hand of Gul'dan's pretty short cast time. It's like a second and a half something, I think. It's not very long. Yeah, 1.5. It's not long in the first place. So what I'd like to see with this bonus is, I mean, keep the Demon Bolt interaction, that's fine. Making it, honestly, like the instant cast thing, I don't really care much about either. It's sort of like, if you can add more value somewhere else, do it. And don't increase the damage of Hand of Gul'dan. Increase the damage, or you can leave that on there, but increase the damage of the imps that come from the Hand of Gul'dan in addition to that. I mean, theoretically, this wording could mean that like the imps do get the increased damage. We can't tell until it goes live, I'd assume next week in whatever build we get, right? Now, if this bonus baseline already does have the instant cast and, you know, the Hand of Gul'dan damage bonus and imps doing more damage built into it, that's fine. That makes sense. That is a 4-piece bonus. But if it's just like an instant cast Hand of Gul'dan and it does, you know, 50% more damage, that's pretty bland. Even if this was our 2-piece, it'd probably feel pretty bad. So hopefully that they look at this and maybe like change it to once again increase imp damage, maybe remove the instant cast clause and make it like just do something else, or I don't know. Not really sure. But baseline 2-piece is strong. It's good. It might be a little boring. It's a baseline Demon Bolt and Fellstorm damage increase, but it fits what Demonology is doing this expansion very, very well. Fellstorm damage, het damage, and if you want, even some Demon Bolt damage. The cool thing about this build is like, unlike how you had Neck-for Lord Demo in Shadowlands, right? You can still build like a pretty decent cleave profile with this actual build here, right? If you want like Grimoire, put it there. If you want a Vile Fiend, put it there. You have more of a pet-based build, right? But you still have like the Bolt section with Shadows, or with Shadows Bite, with Power Siphon, with Fell Covenant, with Sack Souls. You had the pet side, Fell and Steel, Demonic Strength, Grimoire, Demonic Meteor, Third Dog, Enter Armaments, Tyrant. So, depending where it goes, Demo's 2-piece looks to be pretty strong. I would probably say, spoilers ahead, Demo probably overall has the best bonuses out of any spec for Warlock so far, tier gear wise. And I want to say, coming out of that Demo section briefly here, Demo has probably the best at bonuses, but it's carried by the 2-piece. The 4-piece is still not very good, but I want to clarify the 2-piece fits the build very, very well. Anyways, getting into the Destro part of the video. So, I'm not very happy with Destro's bonuses. The 2-piece is sort of okay. I mean, it's fine. Consuming Soul Shards has a chance, so it's going to be a chance, like the 2-piece for Aff is, to grant you Chaos Maelstrom. increasing your crit chance by 10% for 10 seconds. So I wish, once again, Aff's bonus was like 10 seconds, not 6, but that's just where we live in. It's pretty bland. Most actual bonuses for every class are bland, like 2%, 2 to 3%, 10%. They're all like just stat increases for the most part, right? If you get like a cool like purple infernal or whatever for your spec, hey, consider yourself lucky. So off the bat, I mean, this will increase Chaos Bolt damage when the actual effect is active, because Chaos Bolt always crits. Its damage is based off your crit strike chance. So it's there. It's fine. It's just sort of bland, but that's okay. If it procs, great. You're gonna, I guess, just launch Chaos Bolts. I would assume this effect procs whenever you consume shards. So like if you cast that Chaos Bolt, there's a chance for it to proc. The question is, does the Chaos Bolt check the crit strike chance upon cast, upon resolution, or upon like the spell hitting the target? I'll have to test it out and see where it goes. I'm not really sure actually. It's probably like upon resolution, similar to how Madness is, but we'll see where that goes with this effect, by the way. It's fine, sort of bland, but it's whatever, I guess. It does have universal applicability, because, like, I mean, conflict rates, incinerate, all that stuff, I mean, they crit too, or chance to crit, it's fine. It's sort of bland and boring, but whatever. The 4-piece, though, I'm not a big fan of this. So, during Chaos Maelstrom, so once again, the 4-piece has to have the 2-piece procs. Whenever this procs, for 10 seconds, the duration, your Chaos Bolt, conflict rate, and incinerate crit strikes explode on the target, dealing 2 to 10% of damage dealt to enemies within 8 yards. Damage reduced beyond 5 targets. So, number one, this is way too much variance. It should be, if anything, it should be like, I don't know, 8 to 10, 7 to 10, 2 to 10 is too wild. It's too much. I will say this almost feels too low as well for like a 4-piece. Oh yeah, cool. My Chaos Bolts hit for, I don't know what, for 20k, and they dealt 200 damage to surrounding enemies. Really exciting. It's really, really bland. Hopefully this is a placeholder value. We'll see where it goes. The interesting thing here, though, is that if you pull up the Destro tree, this ability sounds pretty similar to another ability we have. Let's read it again. We'll remove this, whatever, sure. Your Chaos Bolt, conflict rate, and incinerate crit strikes explode on the target, dealing 2 to 10% damage to enemies within 8 yards. When Chaos Bolt damages a target affected by Havoc, it explodes, dealing damage to enemies within 8 yards. It's like a weird Cry Havoc variation that they put on this thing. And like, listen, I'm not totally, it's fine. I talked about it with Max last night in his stream too. I didn't mention that Cry Havoc does, like, so if I'm playing Cry Havoc, for example, let me put up Cry Havoc here, right? So if I do this, I'm hitting one target. Here's my Havoc target. Here's a Chaos Bolt. Watch this. Let me conflict, right? Here's a Chaos Bolt, right? So Cry Havoc works in single target. Like, it'll hit the mob that has Havoc on it, right? So I assume this bonus works the exact same way. The difference is that Cry Havoc hits for, I mean, what? I don't know, a quarter, like what, 25%? 20% of the actual Chaos Bolt damage. This thing hits for 2% to 10%. So, I mean, yes, it can AoE on certain mobs, and that's sort of the value of Cry Havoc too, but it feels pretty subpar. I wouldn't mind just some other kind of, like, I know we're coming out of a time of like Destro being utterly insane in certain settings and all that, like with, you know, how it isn't S3 and S4, but it just feels underwhelming, and it sort of feels like a cop-out. We're copying Cry Havoc and just applying it to Chaos Bolt and Conflict Rate. Like, you're going to be casting Chaos Bolts and Conflict Rates and Incinerates during that window. That's probably all you're going to cast, barring an Immolate if you're not playing Raging Demon Fire. But it just seems like a cop-out. It just seems sort of subpar. I don't know. I can't really place what it is. I'm not very excited about it. In single target, chances are pretty high. It's going to be really bad. Like, I know it's duplicating 3 spells, but it's taking 2% of my Conflict Rate damage. Conflict Rate deals 7,000 damage. So even 10% of that is 700 damage. Ooh, really exciting. It feels very undertuned and just not very good in a single target. I know that it's capped. It can cleave targets and it's capped, but I don't like bonuses just being good in one setting, especially your 4-piece, right? Like, it's typically why you don't see like a Havoc bonus on a 2-piece or a 4-piece, because Havoc is mostly dead in single target, and this feels sort of like a Havoc bonus. It favors settings where you're cleaving multiple mobs, right? So I'm not sure. Like, chances are pretty high the 2-piece probably is better than the 4-piece here too in single target. In AoE, sure, you get some value, that's great, but I don't think bonuses should be good in AoE. Good in one setting, but not good in the other. So I get what they're going for here, but this needs to be a like 8 to 10%, 7 to 10, maybe even a higher value in general. Have it have some kind of like single target applicability. Have it be like, all right, cool. If you hit one mob during this window, maybe this damage is more. If you hit, you know, 2, 3, 4 mobs, sure. If it explodes on multiple mobs, then reduce the damage dealt. Have it square root or whatever, but like have it have more value in single target. Because like, you don't really have a feeling of like, oh, this is a cool thing to have in patchwork settings, right? Destro is really customizable. You have like good single target builds. You have good AoE, you have good cleave. You can build whatever you want with Destro. But having a 4-piece that gains more value in like AoE and not like a single target just feels pretty bad. So we'll see where tuning goes. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Destro's 4-piece. It just seems sort of subpar. This is way too excessive as far as variance is concerned. Destro already has RNG, unless you're playing Chaos Incarnate with like mastery effects, and it's only for some of your spells. Yeah, it needs to have more relevancy in single target or just be reworked in general. This is fine. This is just sort of, yeah, not very good. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That should just about wrap it up. A brief summary here for those that didn't watch most of the video, I guess. Number one, I think Demonology has the best bonuses. It's being carried by its 2-piece. The 4-piece could be good if it affects imp damage as well as Hand of Gul'dan. Chance is pretty high. If it doesn't, it needs to. It just needs to be reworked. Probably the instant cast clause doesn't really matter a whole lot, and Hand of Gul'dan on its own really doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Number two is probably Affliction. The 2-piece is fine. Trade duration could be longer. Extra charge in, I guess, a little bit. It really depends on if you can stack. It really depends on if the damage amp stacks to 200 or if it's 5 individual charges of 40% each. I would assume it's 5 of 40. I doubt it stacks to 200, but we'll see where that goes. And then Destruction's bonus, the 2-piece is fine, sort of bland. The baseline crit increase. The 4-piece needs to be reworked in a handful of ways. So yeah, overall, Demonology probably like an A minus, B plus, being carried by the 2-piece. Aff, B. I'd say Destro C minus, maybe a D, but gotta see where it goes. So either way, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you guys think of these actual tier bonuses down below in the comment section. I know that they're all sort of bland and a little generic. I will say that like when I saw there was tier in the first raid of Dragonflight, well, I really didn't expect it to be like big purple infernals and, you know, a third dog and malicious imps. I expected it to be a bit more on the conservative end of the spectrum because we're getting new talent trees, which opens up a lot of possibilities, new builds, new talents, different combinations of talents we haven't really played in the past. So I assume them doubling down on like, hey, adding in a blasphemy, adding in, you know, pit lords and insane stuff for other specs probably wasn't going to be the case to help us ease into like, hey, this is your new talent builds. Don't overcomplicate things. I would assume like in the next raid and the raid after, yeah, blasphemies, purple infernals, malicious imps, third dogs, and whatever Aff does at the same time. I would assume they probably branch out and make things more exciting and interesting later on down the line, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Everybody got pretty boring effects, but hey, in the end, it's still tier, it's still bonus damage, and probably gonna want it, so we'll see where it goes. But yeah, let me know down below if you guys what you guys think about these. If I missed any weird interactions that you guys think I should have not missed or I should have mentioned, leave them down there as well. I will be sure to get back to you. So thanks for watching, guys. I want to give one huge shout out again to my patrons for in the video. Thank you guys a million times for supporting Patreon. Really truly do appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here as well as down in the video description below. With that being said, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you again soon on stream. Peace.